All right, Laura, what is the biggest piece of advice you would give somebody who's going through adversity?
So, the greatest advice I can give is first acknowledge the difficulty of the adversity. And I speak from my own experience. I wanted to immediately jump into solving the adversity. So, my biggest advice is first acknowledge the adversity, acknowledge the difficulty of the situation, and then choose to take it moment by moment rather than figuring out how you're going to navigate through the entire adversity. Take it step by step, literally moment by moment.
I love that. That's such a good answer. It's way better than anything I could ever say.
Well, I was going to say, what would be, I would love to hear your advice. I can
um,
learn, I can learn
my
from that.
my advice, it's actually kind of similar, just not as well put. um, Pretty simple. It's actually the second tattoo I ever got, which is just to keep going. Um, a lot of people, a lot of people kind of they hit adversity, their adversity, and they think that it's this big wall that they can't get over, or this staircase that they can't climb, and then they're looking at
Yes.
the whole thing. They're looking at the whole thing instead of looking at the step, like you said, the step
Right.
they can take right that's right in front of them. So it's just really simple. Just keep moving forward, keep going. Because you have to make it through the storm to see the rainbow type thing, you know? So
100%. So we're
that's,
saying the same thing.
we're saying the same thing.
We can just keep going because you have to keep going through the adversity or it
Exactly.
will completely, it'll be too overwhelming.
Exactly. Now, welcome back to Simply Satisfied. I'm joined today by Laura Bratton, who has faced some of the biggest adversities probably of anybody I've ever talked to, right? She is passionate about sharing this experience though. And Laura, you became blind as a teenager, correct?
Yes.
And through that, you learned to go through the biggest adversities, and now you're ready to equip people, other individuals with practical resources and, things to help navigate through their own change, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
amazing. Now, tell me, kind of walk me through what it was like going blind.
So I was diagnosed. There are two parts to that. So I was diagnosed at 9 with a very rare retinal eye disease.
Mm-hmm.
But as a 9-year old, even though I was sitting in the doctor's office, even though I still can remember that, them telling my parents, I couldn't cognitively process what was going on because I was 9. So I could hear it and understand it. But at that time, my present reality was I still had full sight. So to me, I would just always have full sight. It didn't really register the what that meant, even though I heard
Yeah.
the words. So
Yeah.
yes, then fast forward to teenager. So the one major moment was when I was at the end of middle school. It was in my, I guess, eighth grade year, towards the end of middle school. And I started, the teacher said, copy down the notes on the board. So, like I've done my whole, my life in education, got out my pen, got out the paper, looked up at the board to write down the notes. And all I saw was, it almost looked like like little blob shadows. Like it wasn't anything defined. It just looked like black markings on a whiteboard. So I looked down at my notebooks, really wasn't thinking anything. Okay, that was just an unusual moment. Looked back up at the board and I saw the exact same thing. Nothing had changed. So I looked around me at the people sitting near me, and everyone is head down, busy copying down notes, like completely normal. And my first thought was, oh, they're just writing down words. They're just like making up stuff to write down because there's no way they're copying down notes.
Yeah.
But nobody seemed to have the response I did. Nobody seemed to be like, oh, that's unusual. So I just said to the person beside me, how are you copying down the notes? Like, there's nothing to write down on the board. Are you just writing words that we've been working on? And she just so casually and calmly leaned over and was like, Laura, the print is completely normal. I don't know what you're talking about. It looks like it always looks like. And that, like, I still can remember I just dropped my pen on my notebook and just sat back in my chair and was shocked, was numb, was scared, just also in disbelief. Like, oh, this is really happening. What they told me at 9 is now happening as a 14-year-old. I've just lost a significant amount of sight, and this is real. That's when emotionally and physically it became real in my mind, because that I couldn't deny it.
Yeah.
There was no more denying, oh, maybe it won't happen. It did happen.
Wow. That's crazy. And
Yeah, it was.
what was it like after, after that realization, after that kind of experience?
So emotionally, that's when the denial started. My first emotional reaction was, oh, this isn't that bad. Oh, it will, my vision will come back really, really soon. This will only be a couple months,
Yeah.
by summer I'll be fine when I start high
Yeah.
school. So it was that complete denial because I didn't want to accept or believe the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And then that denial led into the mindset of I can't, I can't, I can't. So my whole thinking, my whole perspective, my belief system was I can't do this. This is too hard. It's too overwhelming. I don't have the strength. I said it, I thought it, I prayed it, I cried it. Any way I could get it out, I said, I can't, I can't, I can't. That was just because it was too much to accept. It was too much to handle. It was too much to adapt.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And so denial was kind of like your first stage, and then it went into like self-deprecation, I guess, with the I can't.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't self-deprecation. It was more just like the overwhelm shut me down. It was,
Okay.
does that make sense? It was more the
Yeah.
anxiety and the depression was so deep. It was just like I was just kind of frozen in that, oh my gosh, this seems really hard. Exactly what you were saying when I asked you about how would you navigate through adversity. And, your advice was just keep going. It felt like I didn't have the strength to get going. So it wasn't that I was doubting the strength that I had. It just seemed like life was just too much, too hard. This adversity was too big.
Yeah. And how long did
Does
that
that
last?
So that was a long process because so as I started high school, I continued to lose a significant amount of sight. It
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just that one moment. So I went from being able to walk around absolutely fine to, okay, I can see the stairwell at school, but my depth perception was so bad at that point, I couldn't tell you if it was 6 inches or 6 feet. Again, I could see it, but it was clearly that's not safe to walk around when you can't tell depth perception.
Yeah.
So as my vision continued to decrease, the I can't lasted several years, and it slowly, moment by moment by moment, changed into, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can figure out this moment, this class, this day. It wasn't, I woke up one day and said, oh, for the past 3 years, I've been saying I can't. Now I can.
Yeah. It
You
wasn't
want
like
is fun? Let's
a flip of
go.
the switch.
Right. There was no major moment. It it was a slow process. And what gave me that process, what gave me that ability to transform into that I can and having that mindset was the gift of the support around me. So the whole time I'm saying, I can't do this is too overwhelming, it's too hard, I don't know. My parents were saying, yes, this is hard. This is not clearly what we thought or what we wanted, but we'll figure it out day by day by day. So they did exactly your advice. They just kept going
Hmm.
day by day, situation by situation, reaching out to people, who had visual impairment or were totally blind to learn resources, to reach out to educators to try to figure out. So they did exactly your advice. So as I had my parents around me who are continuing to keep going, as my brother is continuing to treat me like his sister, like he's always treated me, that showed me and that modeled for me, oh, if they believe in me, maybe I do have the strength.
Yeah.
Maybe if they have the strength to keep going, maybe I do. So that's what started the process of changing that mindset. It wasn't me just waking up one day and saying, "Oh, this is great." It was the strength of the people around me.
Yeah. Now looking back, hearing that they were such an integral part of your change, hearing that they helped facilitate, kind of that shift in thinking and that shift, shift in your growth. Looking back at it, and I always wonder this question, right? Do you think
Yeah,
you would have gone through the similar changes or the similar changes in thinking if you had to have gone through it alone?
absolutely not. I would have been stuck in the I can't. I have no doubt I would have been stuck in that I can't perspective. That would have I would have done the opposite of your advice rather than keep going and just keep going. I would have been so overwhelmed with the magnitude of the present and the future. I think mentally, just I wouldn't have kept going. I would have just shut down and just said, this is, I just don't have the strength because without that support,
Hmm.
the present was too overwhelming.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that because I think about that a lot. If I didn't have that support, I would not have made that shift because I wouldn't have been, I would have been stuck. I wouldn't have had the strength to know that I could.
So support for you was super important.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. And I like now here's the other part of it is had you been alone, do you think that and I know you said like the changes would not have come, right?
Right, right.
Uh,
The mental changes.
the
Yes.
mental changes, right? Do you think that one day, maybe not as soon as you did, but one day that you would have started to realize, okay, I need to figure this out?
Yes, it would have been much slower
Hmm.
and even more, the depression, the anxiety would have lasted so much longer. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think just the weight of anxiety, the weight of depression, I think just over time, over years, I eventually would have gotten there, but it would have been an incredibly slow process.
Yeah.
Very, very, very slow process.
Probably a lot of trial and error along the way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And also with that, that makes me, I've thought about this a lot. I don't think I would be as passionate about now empowering others.
Okay.
And I say that because I realize the gift of support and I realize what the gift of someone holding space and saying, yes, just keep going. What do you need to do this moment, this day? I realize the gift that someone can give you when you feel like you don't have the strength.
Yeah.
So that's where my deep passion comes from. Not just to say, okay, I received it. That's good for me. But to say, okay, I received it. And now let's go and share it so other people can benefit from that same support.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, how did you I know you said the support played a big role in this, but how did you begin to move forward? What were the steps you took?
So once I had that support around me, and I realized over time and over situations, yes, they have the strength to keep going. They're still moving forward. It was each day built on itself. So as I would make it through one, once I would make it through English, and then I would make it through calculus, and then I would make it through Spanish, kind of each section of each day built on itself. And then once I made it through 2 days, that became 4 days, and the 4 days became a week, and then a week became a month. So again, it wasn't a moment or a situation that changed. It was each small moment building on itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the mindfulness was so incredibly helpful, of noticing when I start to say, okay, I can't, acknowledge it. Yes, what I'm going through is incredibly difficult, and I will figure it out. So just noticing my mindset and changing my thought patterns.
Okay. And that falls right along with what you talk about a lot, which is grit,
Yes.
right? And so tell me more about the kind of, how you learned grit along the way.
So there are two parts of the grit. The grit is that found what I've been referring to, that foundation around me. Because when I didn't have the grit for myself, it was my parents, my family, the community around me that held that grit, that again gave me that foundation, that support to continue forward. And the way I define it, I love Angela Duckworth's work on grit and how she defines it. And I love the perspective of grit is having that tenacity, that determination, that courage, goal by goal, moment by moment. So it's not a whole huge future or figuring it out, reaching that big major goal. It's what are those little tiny goals within the big goal? So practically in my life, the big goal was adjusting and living life forever and knowing my future was going to be without sight. That was so overwhelming. Yet when I broke it down into small goals of, okay, all I have to do today is think about where I'm going to apply for colleges. All I have to do the next day is start to fill out one application. Okay, I have to think about, do I use a cane or do I use a guide dog? Okay, it's going to be guide dog. So which guide dog school do I apply for? Literally taking it goal by goal by goal, step by step by step. That's the grit that I lived then, and that I still continue to live by every day, to take it day by day, moment by moment.
Awesome. And then you have a second half to that part, right? A second half,
Yes.
so alongside of grit, you have a second half that is gratitude,
Yes.
right? So you got kind of a GG system going on
Yes.
here.
Yes. I did not do that on purpose.
So,
Yes, that was not intentional. So a situation that happened in high school that sets the stage for the gratitude. Again, I did not wake up one day and say, gosh, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful that I'm now
yeah,
blind and in high school.
yeah.
This is just, I am so, so thankful. Well, this should happen to everyone. That wasn't the reality. What did happen, what got me focused, started on gratitude, was in those high school days when I am so incredibly depressed, having panic attack after panic attack after panic attack. One of my mentors said to me, Laura, I want you to start writing down 3 things every day that you're grateful for. And thankfully, I am grateful for this. I just said, okay, I didn't respond out loud what I was thinking, but in my head, I was thinking, I don't think you're a good mentor, because here I am. I've just become blind. I'm so depressed. I am constantly living in a state of panic. Sometimes I can't barely get my breath because I'm so panicky. And you're telling me to be grateful?
Yeah,
Like, that doesn't add up.
I
So,
I get that.
in my stubbornness, I said, okay, I'm going to be her mentor. I'm going to teach her how to be a better mentor.
Mm-hmm.
So again, in my complete stubbornness, I started to write down things I was grateful for. And the 2 days became 4 days, and the 4 days became a week. And over time, what I realized was the gift that she was giving me. So I thought she was saying, wake up and be so thankful that you're blind. Be grateful that you can't see. I thought she was saying, be grateful for the situation, for the adversity.
Mm-hmm.
She was teaching me, be grateful for what helps you navigate through the adversity. So she, again, was not saying, wake up and be thankful you're blind. She was saying, wake up and be thankful that you have parents that are treating you completely normal and their standards have not changed for you because you just can't see as well.
Mm-hmm.
Be thankful throughout the day that you have a brother that still treats you as his little sister, and still does all the brother things to his little sister. Like, be grateful for the friends, be grateful for the teachers. Yes, this is really, really hard. And also acknowledge, what are you thankful for within the adversity? Does that distinction make sense? So I'm not saying, and what she taught me and what I've learned to live is not to be grateful for the adversity, be grateful for what helps me navigate through the adversity.
Yeah, that makes total sense because I went through a similar situation where being locked up and people were like, "Oh, just write down what you're grateful for." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And it was like, "Wait, really?" And I've done,
Yeah.
like, even before then, I had done gratitude practice. So
All
it's
right. Okay.
I was somebody who knew the benefit of it,
The
and
benefits.
even
Yeah.
still even still was like, "You really want me to write that down?" But
Like, you're not a good mentor either. Right?
but what you're saying makes complete sense because it's not you're grateful for where your current circumstances. You're grateful for what's coming out of your current circumstances, for the person you're becoming because of that,
Right.
or
Right. Uh-huh.
for the the things that are coming to light because of that, like the support
Right.
you had.
Right.
One of the
100%.
things one of the things that I agree with completely is support. And before I ever, and you could probably maybe relate to this a little bit, is before I ever went through my adversity, I took my support for granted.
Yes.
And
100%.
then applying gratitude, I was able to see, like, okay, they've been there for me. They've done all these things. Like, I took them for granted. Now I see how advantageous and how supportive they are.
Yes. I could not agree more. 1,000%. As I was going through those high school years, I wasn't walking around thinking, gosh, I'm so grateful to have this support.
Yeah.
It was like you said, I literally took it for granted
Mm-hmm.
because so much is happening so quick. You just, you're not even processing it all. So I completely agree. It's looking back gives you that deep, deep gratitude of, wow. An example would be when I'm in college and I'm just more adjusted and on a physical level, just the everyday world level. So I have more emotional strength to focus on that part of the mindset and the emotion. Yeah, that's when what you were saying. I started to realize, oh, I don't need to take that for granted. That is an incredible gift. And again, that's where my passion comes from, to be that support for other people, because I know it is so literally life-changing.
Yeah. And so you found grit and gratitude as sources of strength, correct?
Yes, 1000%. And the reason is, as I'm in that initial vision loss, going into that mindset of victim and that negative mindset, that actually made me more depressed, more anxious.
Mm-hmm.
That, saying, oh gosh, poor pitiful me. I'm just going to sit at home and do nothing the rest of my life. Like, the world owes me. That hurt me. That there was no benefit in that. And also the other extreme was true. As people say, oh my gosh, you're so emotional. that made me just as depressed.
Yeah.
That made me just as anxious because my mindset was, I'm just a human, just a teenage girl trying to live life and get through calculus and graduate from high school. That there is nothing amazing about that.
Yeah.
I'm me. I just can't see as well. So neither perspective helped me on a mindset, emotional level. So that's where I created the grit, and that's why I'm so passionate about the grit and gratitude, because to me that creates the balance.
Hmm.
That it's a healthy, for me, what I found is a healthy balance to live in that allows me to do the advice that you gave, just to keep going.
And so you help empower other people to take that
Yes.
same advice, to live
Right.
through grit and gratitude. And
100%.
how does that work? How do you, like, walk me through the journey of when you decided I want to help other people with the blessing that I, recognized or, achieved.
It was 100%, again, because my life experience.
Yeah.
It Once I was in college, majored in psychology, and I knew that I wanted to be a focus. I wasn't sure what I wanted to focus on, what specific area of psychology. And then it was towards the end of college that I realized, okay, that gives me the empowerment. I just that deep passion. Like I can't share this. I have benefited so much from this. I want to be that holistic presence of that mind, body, spirit connection.
Hmm.
So it was really towards the end of college when I had that kind of awareness and perspective of, okay, that's when I developed the grit and gratitude, is saying to myself, okay, how did I navigate through this? How did I get through this? And processing that out, that's what started the passion.
Yeah. And what is your thinking today? What is your mindset today?
So it's 100% living in the balance of the grit and the gratitude. And what I mean by that is that's living in a space where I daily acknowledge the grief. So, a huge part of this emotional journey, mindset perspective has been the grief component,
Hmm.
acknowledging the grief, the loss of something I used to have that I no longer have. So, for a long time, my perspective was, okay, let's grieve and let's check that box and let's move forward. Right? Let's do the grieving thing and then we're done with the grieving thing and we can move on.
Almost like a to-do list. Like, let's just get this over
Literally a to-do list,
with.
literally a checklist, right?
Yeah.
And what changed that perspective, and a, this is how I live every single day now with the mindset. When I was in college, right before I started my freshman fall, a mentor at college said to me, Laura, I just want to tell you, I know you've been grieving and the grief will continue forever. Because she could tell it was on my to do list, right? Like, I've been there, done that. I did that through high school, so now I'm good. So, of course, like the first mentor, when she said that, I thought, no, you're wrong. I'm done grieving, no, I'm good. Thank you for telling me, but I'm good.
It seems like all these mentors were kind of like, eh.
You think I would listen to him after a while, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
listened to him later. I didn't listen to him in the moment. I
yeah.
wasn't that wise. So once I realized she gave me the best advice I could have received in that moment, because she gave me permission to grieve. So I say that to say my mindset today is have the grit, to have the self-compassion, to have the self-love, to have the self-acceptance of being comfortable and confident in my own skin, while acknowledging this is really, really hard. This loss is a huge loss that I wish hadn't happened because of what I'm missing out on. So it's constantly acknowledging that loss, and that takes a lot of grit to do that. And at the same time, that gratitude piece of, and I'm so grateful for who I am today. I am so grateful for the mindset and the perspective that I have today. So that's that's why I talked about the grief, to say today is that constant balance of acknowledging the loss while still moving forward. So it's not all one, it's not all the other.
Yeah. And would you
Is
say,
the
yeah, it's kind of the combination, right?
yes, 100%.
Okay. And does that ebb and flow? Is it always kind of 50-50, or is it kind of,
No, great question. Thank you for saying that, because I didn't say that. It absolutely ebbs and flows. And it's never even. It's not ever 50-50. Sometimes in one day I need more of the grit to, okay, I can get through this day. I am comfortable in my own skin, even though I feel super, super anxious. And then other days it's more focusing on the gratitude and acknowledging the support around me, and also the support within myself, just the mindset that I've been able to get to. So yeah, thank you for saying that, because it's not ever even, and a lot of times there's not a distinction. They just blend together.
yeah.
So it's a back and forth.
Okay. Awesome. And the grit and gratitude, I mean, it's an amazing concept. The more and more I think about it, I mean, it's, if you can, I know you said it's not a perfect 50-50, but when you can have it in almost perfect balance,
Yes,
it's kind of what gets people through most days, right? Um,
absolutely.
being able to have the grit to keep going, but being able to have the
Yes,
gratitude to be satisfied with where you're at, right?
right. 100%.
It's
A hundred percent.
basically this whole show.
Right. Right.
It's basically simply satisfied, which is, the simplicity to move forward and the satisfaction to be happy with where you're at. And
Literally.
it's kind of crazy.
Is because
Because
that simplicity is the healing.
correct. And I've heard it put so many different ways, just never grit and gratitude, which is amazing. Actually, I like it so much better than the way I've heard it before.
It's because it simplifies it. And I'm not
Exactly.
just saying that because it's your title. I'm saying that because that's what I had to do. I had to simplify my mindset because it was so overwhelming. It was so fear of the future. Oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this, navigate this, be in this world with value and meaning and purpose? So I had to simplify it. And that's why I got to that place of those two words and literally living those two words. I needed simplicity to find that satisfaction.
Yeah. Now, what is your advice for others who are going through adversity and change?
So my advice is similar to the advice my mentor, the mentor in college gave me. Well, actually both mentors. First, let yourself grieve or feel the adversity, because it
Mm-hmm.
is a lot. It is really, really hard. So give yourself permission to feel that it's hard, that it's a lot, that it's challenging. And then balanced with that is trust yourself just to keep going. What is that one phone call you need to make today? What is that one email you need to send today?
Mm-hmm.
What is that one word you need to say to that family member, friend, coworker today? So my advice is that the combination of giving yourself to feel the difficulty of the loss, of the change, while also taking that one step today.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Just taking the one step, but also, that's the grit, right?
Yes,
And then, but also having the gratitude along the way.
right.
It's kind of like what we talked about at the beginning, but, bringing in the
100%.
gratitude. And
Yes.
for years, grit was like, I feel like a lot of people have grit and they forget about the gratitude.
Literally every single person I work with, all the speaking I do, everyone says, I've got the grit down. I've never thought about the gratitude.
Yeah. Now, is it ever the opposite way? Is it ever like people that are like, oh, I'm grateful for everything, but they lack the grit?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And that's where, and that was my experience of there is that healing balance of acknowledging the difficulty. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we just stay in that positive, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. Yes, we are. And also, we have to acknowledge the difficult situation we're navigating through.
Yeah.
So that's where the permission, that circles back to my advice of the permission to give yourself the space to do both, not just
Okay.
one or the other.
Yeah. So giving yourself permission to feel the difficulty and
Right.
the gratitude,
Right.
the set,
Right.
the
100%. Yes.
now where does you talk about compassion a lot, right?
Yes.
Especially when we talk about gratitude. What is your definition of compassion? Like how would you define it?
So the word compassion is suffering with.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is exactly having compassion within ourselves, self compassion, having compassion with others. So being with the suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is the advice that we were just talking about, sitting in the difficulty and then choosing to move forward.
Okay.
So I don't view compassion as pity. Like let's just be victim. Let's just, oh my gosh, your situation is so horrible. You're so amazing. It's not being stuck in that pity
Yeah.
that stops you. It's that compassion of sitting with yourself, sitting with others. This is really, really hard. And I choose to have the strength to move forward. So that's how I define compassion, acknowledging the pain and then moving forward.
Okay. And that fits in with does that fit in with mostly gratitude or both?
I think it fits in with both because it takes an incredible amount of grit to have that self-compassion with ourselves. I
Yeah.
said it twice. It takes incredible courage to offer that to ourselves. Just to sit in the pain is really, really, really hard. So, an example of what I mean by that, if I'm feeling very anxious, extremely anxious, not to the point of having a panic attack, but just very anxious in my just the racing thoughts, just in my body, I can feel the anxiety. What I want to do is busy myself so I get distracted. What is helpful and what I've learned to do is just take 5 minutes and sit and turn towards the anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and just let that anxiety be. And when we turn towards it, it actually gets less and less and less.
Yeah.
To me, that is self compassion. Having that self compassion of being able to sit with the anxiety and then move forward rather than constantly distracting, pushing down the anxiety, that takes incredible gratitude and grit at the same time.
Wow. I mean, Laura, you have a remarkable story. Just everything we've talked about today with becoming blind as a teenager, working through all the grief, kind of going through multiple it sounds like multiple mentors.
Absolutely. Oh no, yes, multiple, multiple, multiple. Absolutely. Yes.
Going through
Who
multiple
I didn't
mentors.
listen to at first.
Yeah. I don't think
Mhm.
anybody like hires has a mentor or finds a mentor and like the first thing they say they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to take that, I'm going to apply it. Like
Yeah.
I think it takes a little bit.
It takes
um but going through like having the support system and realizing the grit and gratitude, like your story up until today, if it was a book, what would it be called?
so I've written a book called Harnessing Courage.
Okay.
And the reason I chose that title,
Mm-hmm.
there's two parts of that. So the harness is the device. So I've had two guide dogs, two black labs. So the harness is what goes on the dog, and then you hold the person holds the handle of the harness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a on the dog, it's on the dog, and then so that's how the dog guides you. So I chose harnessing courage because it took a lot of courage for us as a team to work together, for me to trust her to literally be my eyes,
Yeah.
to trust her with my physical safety, navigating the world. That was a lot of grit and courage. So that's kind of the physical. That's why I specifically use that word, harnessing
Yeah.
courage. And then from a mindset perspective, just to have the strength to harness that courage that we need every single day as we navigate through change. So the title is both the physical meaning of the harness, and also the courage that harness gave me to move forward, right?
Yeah.
And to feel that strength. So that's the title.
I love it. I love it. And how long ago did you write that book?
So I wrote that in 2016. So
Awesome.
that was after college, after grad school, and it was the end of, I was hesitating because I was trying to remember, it was the end of my first guide dog, towards the end of having her.
Okay. Okay. And you gonna write a second one?
Oh no. That was really hard.
Yeah.
That was hard. The writing process was, it was incredible. I have to say, it was hard. It was also incredibly healing.
I believe it.
It was very, very, very healing to write it out.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get it out on paper, for two reasons. It was healing to tell my story and to write all out. And that goes back to what you were saying about taking the support for granted. That also gave me a deeper perspective of, wow, you've had a lot of support, from so many different areas in so many different ways. I mean, just the support from my guide dog, from the guide dog
Yeah.
school that trained the dog. So it was healing in the perspective of writing it out, but it was also equally as healing knowing people could read it and be empowered with the grit and gratitude. Their situation would be totally different. Their life perspective, the change they're experiencing is completely different, yet the grit and gratitude still applies.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Now I do have one last question for you, Laura, which is, what is something, and maybe these mentors were on the right track with what they were giving you, but what is like a piece of advice or a lesson or something somebody taught you or you learned along the way that you wish you would have learned and taken to heart sooner in life?
Take the pressure off yourself to figure out the entirety of the diversity quickly. And so, example from my life, what I mean by that is, in those first years, I was overwhelmed, and what created the intense depression and anxiety was thinking about, oh my gosh, how am I going to live the rest of my life? So that fear of the future, that pressure of the fear of the future was so overwhelming. So my advice would be, take the pressure off yourself and literally focus on moment to moment to moment. And to know that moment to moment to moment is enough.
Wow. That's a really good answer.
Thank you. I wish I had known that in high school. I wish
Yeah.
I wish I had lived that, because again, I didn't think living moment to moment to moment was enough and would eventually add up to getting me to a future. I again felt that pressure of, I've got to figure out the whole future now, and that just doing it moment by moment wasn't enough. So if I knew doing it moment to moment was actually all I needed to do, that would have been incredibly helpful in
Wow.
healing.
That's amazing. That answer just blew me away. Like I almost fell back in my chair.
It's hard to live.
It is. And I bet a lot of people wish they would have knew that in high school or grade school or even college.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Because we put so much pressure on ourselves to figure it all out.
yeah, exactly. That's amazing. Well, do you have any last notes or pieces of advice for the audience listening today?
My last thought would be give yourself credit for those moment to moment situations that you have accomplished in the adversity. Because the adversity is so difficult, the change, whatever it might be, is so overwhelming. Give yourself the credit and give yourself the gratitude for what you have accomplished.
Awesome. That's really, really good. Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining me today, Laura. This has been absolutely amazing. Like, just to hear your story, to hear about grit and gratitude, talk through all the pieces of advice, the practical resources. Like, it's amazing.
Thank you for the opportunity, because literally the name Simply Satisfied is I've reached being satisfied through that simplicity. And I'm not just saying that because that's your title. That is exactly what has been an incredible healing foundation for me. So thank you for this platform.
Of course, of course. And for everybody listening, I'm going to put all of Laura's resources in the show notes. So it's going to be underneath. You'll be able to see all of, contact her, get in touch with her, um, buy her book, because Harnessing Courage, I mean, who wouldn't? That title just reeled me in. So everything will be in the show notes. Laura, it's like I said, you've been absolutely amazing. And this story itself it helps people, be grateful for what they have and have the grit. It's going to help people in the long run. It's going to be amazing. So
Yes, thank you.
awesome. Well, for everybody listening, as always, keep smiling, keep striving, and hit up Laura, because she's got some awesome resources. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.